Every year, the global industry moves hundreds of millions of tons of a substance that almost never makes headlines, but without which the modern world simply would not function. It is in the fertilizers that sustain intensive agriculture, in fuel refining, in metal production, in batteries, detergents, and large-scale chemical processes. And at the same time, it is one of the most corrosive and dangerous liquids ever used by human beings. Sulfuric acid does not impress by its appearance. It does not shine. It does not explode on its own. It does not seem extraordinary at first glance. But behind that dense and colorless liquid exists a colossal industrial chain, precise and ruthlessly rigorous, where toxic gases, extreme heat, and violent reactions must be controlled to the limit. Its production admits no errors, because here a small deviation does not ruin just one batch. It can compromise an entire plant. The history of sulfuric acid begins long before metal towers, pipelines, and steel tanks appear. It begins with sulfur, an element known since antiquity, easy to recognize by its intense yellow color, its brittleness, and its presence in nature under various forms. For a long time, the classic image of sulfur was associated with almost pure mineral deposits extracted from the subsoil as if it were a valuable rock. That image still survives in the popular imagination, but modern industry functions in a broader and more complex way. Today, a large part of the sulfur that feeds chemical plants does not come only from traditional mines, but also from industrial recovery in oil refineries and natural gas processing plants, where this element is separated from sulfur compounds that would otherwise be very dangerous pollutants. Whatever its origin, the goal is the same: to isolate sulfur in large quantities and with sufficient purity to incorporate it into a continuous chemical chain. In industrial terms, sulfur is not just a raw material. It is the starting point of a sequence where each stage depends on the previous one with almost absolute precision. If the feed arrives contaminated, wet, or with an irregular composition, everything that follows loses stability. Therefore, even before entering the heart of the plant, the raw material already passes through controls, conditioning, and handling systems designed to avoid impurities, blockages, and operational risks. When the solid sulfur arrives at the facility, the first major objective is to transform it into a manageable flow. It is not enough to have mountains of yellow material stored in an industrial yard. The plant needs continuity. It needs stable feeding. It needs to convert a brittle solid into a liquid that can circulate through pipes, valves, and dosing systems. For this, the sulfur passes to melting units, where it is heated in a controlled manner until it becomes a thick, dark, amber liquid. At first glance, it might seem like a simple operation. In reality, it is a critical stage. The temperature must be kept within carefully monitored ranges to avoid problems with viscosity, residue formation, or degradation of pumping conditions. Once melted, the sulfur is still not ready. It must be cleaned. During its handling, storage, and transport, it can carry mineral particles, dust, solid residues, and other impurities that on a domestic scale would seem insignificant, but within a chemical plant can damage equipment, affect subsequent reactions, or contaminate the final product. For this reason, the liquid passes through filters and purification systems before moving forward. The industrial logic here is brutally clear. Nothing enters the main reactor if it has not been stabilized first. Then comes the moment when the process stops looking like a material handling operation and becomes a true large-scale chemical reaction. The liquid sulfur is sent to a combustion furnace. There it is brought into contact with a controlled stream of dry air, and the first major transformation occurs. The sulfur burns. Its elemental structure changes. The solid that was once rock or industrial byproduct becomes a gas. In chemical terms, the main result of this stage is sulfur dioxide, a gaseous compound, irritating, toxic, and absolutely indispensable for producing sulfuric acid. Combustion, however, does not simply consist of setting a stream of sulfur on fire and waiting. It is an operation that demands balance. The air supply must be exact. The temperature must remain under control. The gaseous mixture must exit with an appropriate composition for the subsequent stages. In a real plant, this is achieved through constant instrumentation, sensors, automatic valves, and permanent supervision from control rooms where every variation is recorded. because if too little oxygen enters in this phase, the conversion will be deficient, and if the combustion loses stability, the operational consequences can be serious. Furthermore, the furnace is not just a place where a gas is generated, it is also an immense source of thermal energy. System temperatures rise to very high levels, and that heat cannot be wasted. In modern industry, a good part of that energy is recovered in heat exchangers and boilers to produce steam or assist other sections of the plant. That detail completely changes the romantic image of a chemical factory. Here, it is not just about manufacturing a dangerous compound. It is about integrating heat, pressure, materials, and reactions into a continuous machinery where each flow fulfills several functions at the same time. Upon leaving the furnace, sulfur dioxide does not represent the end of anything. It represents the true beginning, because until that moment, the plant has only prepared the ground. It has taken a stable raw material, melted it, cleaned it, and burned it to produce the base gas upon which everything else will be built. Sulfuric acid does not yet exist. Only a hot, aggressive, and still incomplete gas exists. But the most delicate part of the journey has already begun. The one that forces the plant to control not only fire and matter, but also the invisible balance of a reaction that must be carried almost to perfection. The sulfur dioxide generated in the furnace seems, in a sense, a point of arrival. In reality, it is barely an intermediate station. The plant does not seek that gas, it uses it as a chemical stepping stone. Its true objective is to push it one step further, force it to react again, increase its oxidation level, and convert it into an even more reactive compound. That step is the heart of the modern industrial process for manufacturing sulfuric acid, and also one of the most sensitive. Before entering the conversion zone, the gaseous stream must meet very strict conditions. It cannot carry impurities that poison the system. It cannot carry excessive moisture. It cannot arrive with an uncontrolled temperature. In the sulfuric acid industry, a large part of the success depends on caring for the health of the catalyst, the material that allows the key reaction to accelerate without being directly consumed. If that catalyst becomes contaminated or loses efficiency, production drops, yield worsens, and costs skyrocket. Therefore, the gas is conditioned before passing through the towers or converters where the decisive transformation will occur. The desired reaction is clear. Sulfur dioxide must combine with oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. On paper, the equation seems simple. In industrial practice, it is not at all. The reaction needs very specific conditions to proceed with high efficiency. If the temperature is too low, the speed decreases. If it is too high, the equilibrium no longer favors the desired product as much. If the gas does not circulate well, if the contact is not uniform, or if the catalyst loses activity, the conversion drops. For this reason, the catalytic converter is not simply an empty tower. It is a structure designed so that the gas passes through successive beds of active material, normally composed of metal oxides supported in configurations prepared to withstand continuous operation for long periods. As the sulfur dioxide passes through these layers, it mixes with the available oxygen and reacts progressively. What comes out the other side is no longer the same stream that entered. Its composition changed, its chemical potential changed, its dangerousness also changed. Sulfur trioxide is more unstable in the presence of moisture, more aggressive and much closer to the final sulfuric acid, but it is still a gas. It has not yet been converted into the liquid that the industry needs to store, transport, and sell. The central difficulty of this stage is that the reaction is exothermic. That means it releases heat. And heat, in a chemical plant, is never a secondary detail. If it accumulates where it should not, it alters the reaction equilibrium. If it dissipates too much, efficiency drops. For this reason, converters are usually organized in several stages with intermediate cooling or thermal recovery systems that allow for sustaining the most favorable operating window. Nothing is left to intuition. Temperature is governed. Composition is monitored. Flow is corrected. The plant constantly watches how that system breathes. At this point, sulfuric acid production reveals something fundamental about the modern chemical industry. It is not about mixing substances and waiting for results. It is about mastering balances, about leading a reaction down the most profitable, safest, and most stable path. The plant works against natural tendencies, energy losses, corrosion, equipment contamination, and leakage risks. all to ensure that an ever-increasing fraction of sulfur dioxide is converted into sulfur trioxide before leaving the converter. Efficiency here is not just an economic matter, it is also an environmental matter. For decades, sulfur dioxide was one of the most problematic atmospheric pollutants in heavy industry. Its release into the atmosphere contributes to severe pollution phenomena and acid rain. Therefore, a modern plant cannot afford to leave large quantities unconverted. Regulatory pressure, operating costs, and technical logic push in the same direction. To take maximum advantage of sulfur and minimize emissions, that demand transformed sulfuric acid plants into facilities of enormous sophistication, where equilibrium chemistry and environmental engineering advance practically hand in hand. When the gaseous stream leaves the catalytic zone, the process enters a new and even more delicate phase. Sulfur trioxide is ready, the key compound already exists. But then a problem appears that at first glance seems absurd. Sulfuric acid contains water in its structure, yet sulfur trioxide should not be sent into a simple direct mix with liquid water. Doing so would generate an extraordinarily violent reaction, difficult to control and inconvenient from an operational point of view. That paradox forces the industry to take an ingenious detour. A chemical workaround that avoids chaos, stabilizes absorption, and converts a fiercely reactive gas into a usable product. That is the point where the plant stops producing only processed gases and finally approaches the birth of the acid. The moment sulfur trioxide leaves the converter is, in a way, the instant prior to the birth of sulfuric acid. Everything before prepared that transition. However, the industry cannot resolve it impulsively. The most intuitive error would be to send the gas directly toward water and expect chemistry to do the rest. But that direct reaction is too violent, generates an acid mist difficult to control, and complicates both safety and capture efficiency. For this reason, plants resort to a much more elegant strategy. Instead of hydrating the sulfur trioxide in a frontal manner, they first absorb it into concentrated sulfuric acid. Inside the absorption towers, the gas comes into contact with a descending stream of already existing acid. There, the sulfur trioxide dissolves and forms oleum, a mixture that can be understood as sulfuric acid with an excess of sulfuric anhydride. This step is essential because it allows the gas to be captured in a much safer and more controlled way. The industrial image of this phase is imposing. Tall columns, internally designed to maximize the contact surface between gas and liquid, operating continuously while pumps, sensors, and recirculation systems maintain the balance of concentration and temperature. There is no visual spectacle for the casual observer, but chemically it is one of the most delicate moments of the entire process. Oleum is a substance even more aggressive than commercial sulfuric acid itself. Its handling requires resistant materials, exact traceability, and permanent controls. However, it also offers the key to reaching the final product. Once obtained, it can be carefully adjusted with water in calculated proportions and under very controlled conditions to produce sulfuric acid of commercial concentration. In many plants, the main objective is acid, close to 98%, an enormously corrosive concentration that is very useful for industrial applications. That value is not arbitrary. It responds to conditions of stability, transport, storage, and use in numerous production chains. In this stage, the process has already fully entered the realm of fine control. It is not just about obtaining acid. It is about obtaining it with the exact concentration, the proper purity, and the lowest possible carryover of impurities or mists. For that, the system includes cooling, recirculation, laboratory analysis, and continuous monitoring of critical variables. The newly formed acid comes out hot. The reaction and absorption release heat, and that heat must be removed to avoid imbalances, accelerated corrosion, or subsequent handling problems. Therefore, the product passes through exchangers or cooling circuits before moving to storage. Then, a less visible but equally decisive dimension appears: quality control. In a sulfuric acid plant, each batch or stable production stream needs verification. Concentration, purity, the presence of unwanted traces, and behavior against technical specifications are analyzed. An acid that is too diluted may not be suitable for certain syntheses. One with impurities can damage customer equipment or alter subsequent processes. Industry does not simply buy acid, it buys a chemical tool with defined properties. For this reason, the laboratories associated with these plants operate as an extension of the process itself. They do not correct at the end, they monitor in real time. Once approved, the acid passes to storage tanks, and there the process acquires another layer of complexity. Storing sulfuric acid is not a passive operation. It requires material compatibility, design intended for corrosion, secondary containment systems, and severe safety protocols. The aggressiveness of the product forces a very careful choice of what the equipment is made of and how the loading and unloading lines are handled. A compatibility error, a fissure, or a bad operation can generate serious incidents. Therefore, storage is one more part of the production process and not a simple parking lot for the finished product. From those tanks, the acid heads out into the industrial world. It travels in specialized tank trucks, adapted railcars, or internal circuits when the plant is integrated with other chemical units. Its destination may be a phosphate fertilizer factory where it plays a central role in sustaining modern agricultural production. It may go to refineries, metallurgy, mineral treatment, production of detergents, pigments, industrial explosives, batteries, and dozens of branches where its chemical power is indispensable. That is perhaps the great paradox of sulfuric acid. It is one of the most dangerous compounds used on a massive scale and, at the same time, one of the most necessary for industrial civilization to maintain its current scale. The danger of sulfuric acid does not lie only in its ability to burn tissues or corrode materials. It also lies in what it represents. Such an aggressive substance can only exist in gigantic volumes because an industrial culture based on technical discipline, specialized materials, automation, and rigorous procedures has been built around it. Its production admits no improvisations, nor romanticism. Everything is designed to prevent a useful reaction from turning into a catastrophe. In the end, the most striking thing about the process is not just that a relatively common raw material ends up converted into such a corrosive liquid. What is truly impressive is the chain of technical intelligence that makes it possible. From the preparation of sulfur to combustion, from catalytic conversion to absorption in oleum, from cooling to final dispatch, each stage exists to domesticate a chemistry that, out of control, would be devastating. And yet, under control, that same chemistry sustains crops, fuels, metals, and products that pass through modern life every day. Sulfuric acid is not just a dangerous substance. It is a demonstration of the extent to which industry learned to work on the edge of danger without ceasing to depend on it.